Hey everybody, I had an issue and I accidentally deleted the link and had to make a new link. So, gosh, I hope people don't have a hard time getting on. You can. I just put the new link in this chat. So if you have friends or anything that are having trouble getting on, there it is. Sorry. Or I'm sure some people will be calling the store. So, for those of you that are out there, um, I'm Nate Norfolk I'm the wine spirits director here at Ray's Wine and Spirits. And this is always fun. I get to do, normally this time of year we have this huge rosé fest, and I've done I'll do over 100 wines at it. And this is like this little mini version of it, but it's nice because I get to kind of talk in depth about three relatively different styles of rosé from three really, really drastically different places in the world. And I just want to make sure, if somebody can give me a shout and just make sure everything's sounding good, that just a heads up that it all looks cool. Yeah. I'll go back. We're gonna do these in this way. We're gonna taste the wines just like I have up from left to right in this manner. So the 2020 Gobelsburg Cistercian Rosé from the Österreich in Österreich, Eastern Austria, and the Routas in Provence Rosé from France, and then finally the Scotto Cellars dry Sangiovese Rosé from Lodi in California. I'm gonna wait just a minute or two because I bet some people are kind of experiencing some technical difficulties. Like I said, I accidentally erased the link. I started the stream and then stopped it, and that kind of starts the whole thing. Like it thinks then I've got to create a new stream, so we quickly had to do that, and I just want to give other people a moment to, yep, just do it again, and hopefully folks will understand that if they just reload it'll be up, and they'll just have to reload the link. Yeah, just like you said, Chris. Yeah, that's basically all you're gonna have to do. If you reload the page, the new link will be up. That's a not fun. That's a not fun part of this whole thing, is the technology of this, and we're pretty good. Yeah, it is, Chris. It's like I'm stuck in Lodi again, right? Okay, so everybody, the first and foremost, everybody's got this Gobelsburg Rosé. Let's just, get this in your glass. Oh, I think this was the first pink wine I brought home this spring. Oh man, just because it is yummy stuff. Let's pour yourself a big old, just get multiple, just wash four, get yourself, get a glass of this, a real deep. We're gonna drink this because it's hot as shit outside too today, and it's nasty feeling. And this has got a little bit of spritz, so which is man, one of the best parts of rosés, especially from Austria and Germany, is it's not odd for them to have just a little bit of CO2. And there were a lot of other rosés I could have drawn from to do this. So nonetheless, we're about 5 minutes in, and once again, I'll repeat just in case it took a couple people, because it looks like a couple people just popped in. So I'm Nate Norfolk, the wine and spirits director here at Ray's Wine and Spirits. I'm also a certified sommelier, and this is something that's been near and dear to my heart for a long time. I love rosé wines, and I especially love them in the early summer, like late spring, early summer through the fall. I think there's really in Wisconsin, I think the rosé season gets longer and longer every year. But really, these wines are, what's great is like, I think they're optimal when they're first released, and I don't think they're wines to really hold on to. I don't think it hurts to hang on to them for a full calendar year, maybe two at the most. But they're really at their optimum within the first 6 months to a year of them being released. So it's always something to really, really look forward. In the northern hemisphere here, most of the 2020 vintage rosés typically come out in the spring of the following year. Is everybody drink? I hope everybody's drinking this. I called this whole thing "Drink Pink to Think Spring," just because it had a lot of rhymes in it. Rosé three ways. There's really three main ways that we make rosé wine is made. But I want to touch just a bit on I'll review the pricing of each of these too. So I hope everybody's drinking this Gobelsburg. Man, this is one of the oldest wineries in Austria. They're celebrating their 850th year as a winery. It's called Cistercian Rosé because this was a Cistercian monastic estate. So we're talking about a winery that dates back to the my god, they even have it on here, dude. 1171. What? 1171. Huh? That's crazy, man. This is an 850-year-old winery. And this is a blend. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but drink some of this. So we're gonna do the Gobelsburg first, just like we're doing in the bottom left-hand corner of all this. Gobelsburg, the Routas, and then the Scotto, and the same as this. So if anybody wants to buy the wines, you can go on our website, which is raisewine.com. It's probably how you guys all found out about this. But here, the pricing is, this is on sale for $17, $16.98 today. The Routas will be $14.98, and the Scotto is really, really, really inexpensive. It's $9.98. And the Scotto family at their winery, they sell this for $20. So that's the pricing. I'll try to remind everybody at the end again. I'll probably put this back up at the end. All right, yay! Everybody got in. Sorry about the issue. Okay, but one thing I want to, before I dive deep into like how rosé is made and what the different kind of production methods, because I think that's really the most interesting thing about it. Like, people have always been making rosé wine. It's like, or something that's a more pink wine. God, when thousands of years ago, when people harvested red wine grapes and made wine as quickly as they could, it wasn't this like deep, dark, super tannic, heavy, rich thing. It would have been probably a relatively darker shade of rosé is what a lot of red wine used to look like. But I mean, when we fast forward to the modern world now and the global market for rosé wine, and then especially I think about in the United States, this is interesting. So this chart is from the end of 2019, and so it's really like 2015 through 2019. Oh my God, it's like an unbelievable rosé growth, like from it over the course of 5 years, over like almost, growing almost 300%, because this is 33% on this year, 45 on the next, 37 on the next 14. But by dollar sales, we go from $250 million to like around over $750 million worth of dry rosé wine sales in the U.S., which is just totally crazy. It's like the explosion of it is like unbelievable. And I always think about how, I got in the wine business like roughly 20 years ago, and this was a hard sell, man. This stuff was like really, it was trendy back then, but it was really tough, and it was a lot of it, in the U.S. here, we'd really been people just not that much older than myself. I'm in my early 40s. People not that much older than myself had really been raised on or had experienced like very sweet rosé wines from Portugal, like Lancers and Matus. And then the phenomenon of white Zinfandel that happened in the 1980s was just epic. So there's this whole generation of kind of like, baby boomer, early Gen X people that their experience of rosé is like a sweet wine. So this finally, but globally, most rosé is made in a dry style and always has been. The whole like sweet phenomenon was really something that was isolated to the United States. And I really feel like the trend of rosé sales and the larger market latching onto it has a lot to do with us just becoming more Epicurean in a global sense. Like Americans just giving a shit about food and drinks more than they used to. And it's really because this is like one of the quintessential wines to casually have with food. And we can talk about like we can get deep into what the best pairings are and so on and so forth. But just as like everybody makes a joke about me making F-bombs on these things, but just like when you're just like, fuck it, I just want an easy drinking wine to cocktail with, that I can both cocktail with and I can pair with just a whole cornucopia, a whole wide span of cuisine. Dry rosés are really it. Man, this stuff in sparkling wine is really the most versatile wine with food that's out there. I'll stand by it till the day I die. So it's always exciting me. I love this Gobelsburg. I just wanted to show everybody this trend. Like this is through 2019, which I think is like, I think that's like the most accurate data. But man, we buy like $750 million worth of rosé in this country. That's wild, man. Now I hope everybody's drinking this, man. I'm really enjoying it. Before we get deep into the wine, anybody have any questions about this first wine, the Gobelsburg, or comments about it? It's a really kind of crazy cornucopia of grapes varieties that maybe a lot of us aren't familiar with, but I mean, I'm going to get into that because it's all red grapes that are very common in Austria, but not really grown much of anywhere else. Okay, so one thing we got to think about is like this is just think about all rosé or most of it, and the one exception is, we can make rosé wine from blending red and white wine together, but that's really a relatively uncommon thing. And the exception to this is the only place really in the EU where that's allowable to happen is in Champagne. In Champagne, it's very frequent that they'll simply add a little bit of a still red wine to turn their sparkling white wine into a rosé style wine, right? Everywhere else, they're doing one of two things. They're making the wine through a maceration technique, meaning they're simply just letting they're intentionally picking grapes to be made into rosé, and they're letting the skin sit with the juice only for a very limited amount of time. Usually, typically less than 24 hours. There's longer than that, but it's kind of a basic thing. The longer we let the skins sit with the juice, look at here on the bottom, the darker the wine gets. I mean, this is how we do with red wine too, right? So it's really simple process. We pick the grapes, they're sorted in some way, and nowadays, like, this stuff's always going to be destemmed, right? And then we have, the grape juice touches the red grape skins for a period of time. The longer it does, the darker this gets. And this will have to do with, what varieties we use too. Like, interestingly, this first wine, which is pretty light, and as is the Routas, these are, the Gobelsburg is Zweigelt, Saint Laurent, and probably Spätburgunder too. These are all, Spätburgunder is just Pinot Noir, and Zweigelt is a blend of Spätburgunder and Saint Laurent, and then Saint Laurent's its own little grape, or Zweigelt's Blaufränkisch and Saint Laurent. But this is common stuff, and we can see that as we drink these the three wines we have tonight, they get a little bit darker in color, really because each of them's had a longer maceration time. Technically, I think the Gobelsburg maybe is a little bit darker than the Routas. And once again, here we are. The longer the juice touches the grape skins, the darker it becomes. All right. And this is a really, really, I mean, what's the beauty of these really light rosés, especially from cooler climate areas, and I'll talk about this when I really get into when we kind of show you the slide for this. Cooler climate rosés from cooler climates like Austria or Germany, or even, places like Oregon in the United States, or even locally here, are going to have higher acidity, and they're just going to be lower alcohol, and this really fresh, bright, crisp, and zesty. They're going to remind us more of like white wines like Sauvignon Blanc, okay, and it's all about like, hey, how long, like as we can see in this graph here, like we literally pump the juice off of the skins and put it into a different container. And then that fermentation and that color is kind of stuck there at that point. That's what the color is going to be. And you complete the fermentations without the skins. You usually let the wine stabilize for a little bit of time, and the rosé is bottled. That's why these things can come out like within a few months, man. And it's not really any different from making white wine. It's really, really similar. It's just you let the skin sit with the grapes for just a little bit longer. So, and here's a little fun graph. And I'm pretty sure the last wine that we're going to drink tonight's really made like this, though. Okay? And this is what they're doing. This is called the saignée, or in French it means like the bleed method, right? And we make this is this kind of second way to make rosé. And it sounds just like, it's kind of exactly the same as just letting it macerate with the skins and the way the first two wines are made, except really what they're doing is as the grapes are sitting with the juice, they're bleeding a small fraction, like 10% or less usually, off of what will be the red wine. So they're separating some juice early from the red wine that's only had a little bit of contact with the skin. So then the juice that's left has a higher ratio of skin to juice. So you end up with a darker red wine, and then you can make a rosé with what you've done saigné or bled off. So it's in this other vessel, right? And what happens, in the second vessel, we're saying CO2 gas and heat is released. Well, that's just because it starts fermenting on its own in that second vessel. I hope that makes sense. I'll maybe elaborate on that a little bit more on the other side when I get deeper into each of the wines. Man, I picked wines that were really hard to find information on today. It's ridiculous. So this year I've been privileged enough to taste I've probably had 150 to 200 different rosés that we've tasted at the store, and I'd say we probably brought in as new wines probably maybe 30 or 35, and that'll kind of increase over the next few months. So really, categorically, these were things that these three wines that I chose today are just they're things that I thought they were a combination of really very either extremely value orientated, unique, or classic, meaning like very classic for their region. So this I thought was a combination of all three. It was, I mean, I don't see much Austrian rosé. Um, some of it's kind of garbagey, you know, and I mean that in just a like, it can be, you know, like all bad wine, like any bad wine. It can be overly acidic, tart, just lack fruit, not have balance. This wine really, really stood out, and I think everybody who's kind of crushing it right now agrees. You know, this is, I already brought up, this is a really, really old winery. And they're right on the Danube in kind of the northeastern part of Austria. Like I said, 1171, man. This blend of Zweigelt, Saint Laurent, and Pinot Noir, or sometimes in Austria they call Pinot Noir Spätburgunder, as I reference to it a bunch of times. Yeah, anybody have anything to say about this? It's interesting. I get like green apple, lime, and like kind of a maraschino cherry on the nose of this, like all at the same time. So it's and I love that there's just a touch of CO2 on this. Yeah. Man, like these are so good. I can't stress enough like how great like rosé wine really, really pairs well with garlicky kind of foods. But when we get rosé that has this kind of acidity, low alcohol, and like almost the CO2 thing, like, man, I love arugula, and I love like chev, and I love like making like just arugula chev at balsamic salads with a little bit of olive oil and pepper. And this is just like, I can't wait to have. I'm going to take this wine home tonight, and I'm going to have that when I get home with this wine for sure. But like, I mean, tons of seafood, salmon, you know, anything that's, you know, just super, super versatile. But at the same time, I mean, like, I think rosé is great wine for barbecue, you know, and grilled stuff too. Oh, good. Sarah does love it. Oh, yeah, sure. I'll go back. I'll talk about the Saunier thing again, okay? Because we're having a couple questions about this. So this is definitely a macerated wine, right? I really went through. Okay, so Saunier is, it just, in French, it literally, the connotation, I don't know if this is a direct translation either. Somebody can, I mean, I would think that it's pretty close because, like, you know, sangre, and like in a lot of Romance languages is blood, you know, and sangue in Italian is blood. So it literally means like to bleed. So right here, like where I'm circling, think about this vat on the left. This is somebody making red wine, right? And they're like, hey man, I got an idea. I could really make this red wine even darker, even richer, and even fuller bodied if I took some of the juice away when we're first letting the juice sit with the skins. So before the red wine gets really dark, because all the red wine only becomes red wine from the juice starts out white. It starts out clear. The only way it gets any color is if it sits with the skins. So the skins give almost all red wine their color, right? There's a couple weird grape varieties out there that are called Tintelier, and they're really anomalies, and they're usually used to blend into other wines. And they're red wines with red juice. They're total outliers. Almost all the grapes out there in the world have white juice, and then they get their color from the skins. So in this method of making rosé, we begin making red wine, and as we're just starting, before it even starts fermenting, when the skins are just kind of first starting to sit with the juice, we take some of the juice away, And that juice is already sat with the skins. So it's got a little bit of color, but it's going to be relatively like light. And sometimes it depends. I mean, we could do this like a day or 2 days in, and then we can get a really deep rosé wine. And that's not weird to happen in California, for somebody to make a pretty deep colored rosé through a Saignée method. So you're separating that some like 10% of the juice you're taking away, and you're leaving all the skins in. So now that red wine has more skins interacting with it. So there's a greater concentration of skins to the juice that's left. So it makes the red wine more concentrated. Hopefully that makes sense. Woo. Wild. Okay, but back to the Gobelsburg. Okay, super old winery, really cool. And they're making Gruner Veltliner, Riesling, all these red grape varieties. But these grapes are destined solely for them to be making rosé. They grow the Zweigelt, Saint Laurent, and the Pinot Noir here to make this rosé wine. They do make red wines, but in Gobelsburg grows these to make this rosé. Yeah. Any questions about this as a wine? Once again, I think the beauty of this is its freshness. Like, this is a wine to drink before Christmas, man. You could hold on to it longer than that, but it's pretty freaking delicious right now. I will say this, because this has got a little CO2, and it's got relatively high acid. Like, this just, put that screw cap right back on, throw that in the fridge. It's going to be it should be almost close to 100% the next day. Man, good. And just to give you an idea, in Austria, where we're dealing with Austria, like this is kind of cool. This is a decent map. This is probably from Wine Folly, right? And we think about this is funny because they show this as they're really growing. They're right around here in the Niederösterreich, but the Österreich in general. They're right off of the Danube. So really, this is considered almost exclusively a white wine region in Austria. But if you guys aren't drinking Austrian white wines, man, do it. Austria makes some really, really impressive wines. Think about this. They're on the same latitude as Burgundy in France, and they're roughly on the same latitude as a variety of vineyard. They're kind of just, almost at the same latitude as where in Washington, it's a little bit north of the Columbia Valley. But beautiful white wines. There's an absolutely incredibly long history of winemaking here. There was a scandal where these guys were adding glycol to wines in the 1980s, which is basically the same stuff as antifreeze to kind of sweeten stuff up. And then it really kind of they had Austria as a region had to deal with this scandal, and because of that they have really, really strict winemaking laws. And in the last 30 years they've really I think done an excellent job of advancing the quality of their wines across the board, and putting out really, really gorgeous, precise, focused, especially white wines. So there's a couple questions about this. Okay, so once again, I'm going to go back and hit everybody with this. So okay, we're asking what is Cistercian. So Gobelsburg is currently a Cistercian. We have to understand this. It is a working Cistercian monastery. Okay, that's where the name Cistercian comes from. It's just like the Yeah, I mean, it is named after after the monastic order. That's why they call this Cistercian Rosé, because this is a Cistercian monastic estate that has been making wine for 850 years. Um, and Rebecca, I was gonna do an Austrian wine class with Jesse Becker, who's Master Som, and we canceled it because of COVID. And I'll probably just do another one with him. He's probably the foremost expert on Austrian wine in the United States, and he lives in Chicago. So to answer the question about what grape varieties are these, they're right here. If you can see Zweigelt. And Zweigelt is named after the eponymous Dr. Zweigelt. And it's a cross between a grape called Blaufränkisch and this other grape called St. Laurent. And Blaufränkisch is actually like a relatively hardy red grape that's grown in Austria, Hungary, and parts of Germany. Wow, probably other parts of what we would call Central Europe. And it's sometimes made into a sweet wine, or it can be into a dry, kind of rather tannic thing. And then, but Zweigelt is a cross between these two wines, made by a guy named Dr. Zweigelt in the early 20th century, because it's cold hardy and ripens relatively early, and makes like this crunchy, like spicy, really high toned red wine that typically has a peppery quality to it. To me, St. Laurent, the other grape variety here that's a little bit of an outlier, tends to have a lot of character like Pinot Noir, but in my mind, most examples I've had of it, it's shown to be more rustic and less fruit driven than Pinot Noir is. And then of course they use Pinot Noir, and they don't really reveal what the blend of these are to that sense. But this is like, 3 of the 4 major red grape varieties in Austria. All right. Any other questions about that? The Gobelsburg Cistercian. This would be the time when I'd be like if it were a live class. And hey, on that note, and I'm putting the cart before the horse a little bit, but let's just say I'm pretty sure we're going to go back to live events in July. Okay, so I'll probably do 1 or 2 in the interim leading up to that. But we're working on all of it. And at that point, I'm envisioning that I'm going to maintain recording the events, and then I'll put up what wines we're going to do for the event. And then if you don't want to attend, but you still want to get some of the wines, you'll be able to buy the wines, but I'll probably just have the event not, stream, but it'll be recorded. That's what I think we're going to do if everybody follows me. So I'll have the event will be recorded. You can watch it, but if you don't, you can opt to do the live thing or watch the recorded thing. And then if you do the recorded thing, you're going to have to buy all the wines. If you come to the live thing, you'll be able to try them all there. I know that's sorry, weird segue. I know, man. It's been crazy. I'm finally all vaxxed. It's just wild. All right. And this is 12% alcohol. That's the other thing I want to think about. Most dry red wines that we drink nowadays are in the 13 to 15% alcohol land. So this is moderately low. Man, totally good. I do, man. I get still, it's lime. It's this little like ultra sweet cherry, but then Granny Smith apples at the same time. Yeah, it's got kind of like a rosemary thing to me too. There's a little orange quality, like orange peel character to it. This wine's really nice. All right. All right. I showed you Austria, and we're messing around right about here. Mm-hmm. Yes. And they're really they're more around then they do make some wine in Camptal. Great producer. Gobelsburg is like I mean, they sell some of their wines at Sanford, like great restaurants even here in Milwaukee carry Gobelsburg wines. All right. We'll move on to the Routas. I hope everybody's got this, right? And we're looking at this. So if everybody can see this, this might be kind of hard to see. Oops. But the main grape variety here of this wine is something called Cinsault. If everybody were here, I would make them say Cinsault altogether. It's CIN SAULT right here. Cinsault. Okay? I got it up here too. Hopefully you guys are looking at this on a pretty big screen. But it's Cinsault, Grenache, Syrah, and then the really weird outlier is Cabernet Sauvignon. So I'm going to skip ahead just a touch because we're going to look at the map. So if everyone can see, this is an area in Provence. It's called Côte Verrois en Provence. I have no idea, but what Verrois is in the connotation of Verrois is. But when we look at this map, and this is just basically like, here's the outline of France, right? And this is the little, swing, little part of France that we're digging in, right? And probably because it's the department down here is called Var, which is kind of like the equivalent of like a county in the United States would be like their department. There's 90 departments in France. They recently did all kinds of administrative changes a couple of years ago. But anyways, historically, this is Var here. And this is the purple area right here is where the Côte Verrois en Provence is. So this is, this is the global epicenter of rosé. I'm going to just say that. Like, Provence is really where rosé comes from. You know what I mean? Like, the idea that we drink dry rosé and we see it as this kind of like Epicurean, cosmopolitan thing, and it's something we do outdoors when we're dining al fresco and we're at the beach and we have it with like salads and like canapes and lox and our beautiful fresh seafood or just the delicacies of land and sea together. It's because really this is in Provence. This is the wine du jour. This is what people drink in coastal Provence. I do want so here's just like some fun like cultural things here. We're looking at this is where Routas is, the winery, in relation to like Monaco, Nice, Cannes, where the film festival is, Saint-Tropez, and Marseille. It's really kind of there's a lot of just like the Mediterranean French culture this is the epicenter of it also. So we can see why the whole just the lifestyle of the south of France, its cuisine, Monaco, Nice, Cannes, all of this stuff is just just the romance of it also, and the wine being associated with it is really pretty a great selling point. Um, I'm gonna go on record to say this. This I thought was as equal or just as good as a lot of the Provençal rosé I had this year that cost, one and a half to twice as much. Um, Once again, because it has that kind of freshness to it. Some of them can have a really cool, like almost chalky character. To me, this wine I get more of like, I get like a peachy character to it. It's got a little bit of like dried raspberry, dry strawberry thing too. And I get some hay on the nose, and I mean that in a good way. It kind of has like, it's more like a dried grass than like a cut grass thing. Yeah. But if ever I have a complaint about wines from Provence, I think sometimes they can lack fruit, and they can be real like austere to the point where they're great, and they're like thirst quenching, and have a snappy and fresh quality to them, but they're they can kind of lack some intensity, and this one's definitely got a great fruit character to it. Interestingly about this estate, and I'm going to go back, and I should have put more into this. So years ago, and we might see this wine. You probably see a wine called Bieler Périfie out in the market. It's one of the most popular French rosés in the United States. They sell hundreds of thousands of cases. The Bieler family owned this estate, which is called Chateau Routas, and they sold it in 2005. This is a big winery. And it's like big by like like big by French standards. This is like a 600 acre winery, which is big, man. That's a big winery, but man, they make some really, really nice stuff. So there's a little bit of an economy of scale going on with this. And I will say, like the Sanso grape variety that makes up the majority of the blend here. This is something that like when we find it sometimes on its own, it can make a pleasantly light, lighter and refreshing red wine. This is one of the permissible grape varieties in Chateau Chateau Neuf du Pape, and in just the Côte-du-Rhône as a whole. These grape varieties, the first three grape varieties that are used to make this are really grown kind of very much throughout southern France, from Lyon to Marseille, and as far east as the Italian and Swiss borders, and like as far west as the Central Massif, we would say. It really occupies about the southeastern quarter of France is really dedicated to these grape varieties: Syrah, Grenache, Cinsault, Mourvèdre, and a host of others. But they're used in just multiple different regions. They're really the workhorse grapes of France. And there's a note that like this seems a lot less acidic than the Cistercian. Yeah, man, this is totally less acidic. This comes from a much warmer climate, like than Austria. We're right on the Mediterranean. This is an incredibly like almost semi-arid part of France where there's a very little rain here. And during the growing season, it's beautiful, just crystal clear blue skies. I'm always shocked that they don't kind of make beefier rosé wines down here. But I love that there is a global trend for wine like this, because it always has this kind of like sea breeze, stony quality to it, even when it's from places relatively inland there. And it's just part of the flavor profile of Provence wines. And if they were really like heavy, rich wines, that'd probably really detract from that, and they'd lose some of their like regional style. But this definitely has less acid, and that's a combination from both the grape varieties that Sanso, Grenache, and Syrah are they're just riper, richer wines with probably a lower, like probably a higher pH than the other wines, the wines from the Austrian wine. And then it's funny, like here in this area, because they want to still preserve acidity and they want to have fresh wines, they intentionally grow grapes in areas where they know that will happen, specifically in limestone, gives them wines with higher acidity, and they intentionally look for that. And Chris has a question: do they make lighter wine there because the food tends to be lighter, seafood and things like that? Well, let's think about it like this. This is one style of wine that's made in the region. So the same area also makes incredibly dense and full-bodied red wines. And so there is that. So and they can make, there's an area there called Bandol that makes some of the just richest, craziest long-lived red wines in France, and that's right on the coast there. They also make a host of white wines, that are more on the kind of medium-bodied side. We have to think about, this is a very like Provence is a really, this is a mature wine region, right? So they've been making wine for a very, very long time. And this is something like, wine is like just part of the culture, the way the Green Bay Packers are part of the culture here. I think the tradition was probably always to make lighter styles of rosé wine that were fresh and super ready to drink. And I noted earlier that when these wines do get like really ripe or like real fruity, they just don't taste like they're Provence rosé anymore. They tend to be they can get to be fruit bomby things. And I think really the signature of the Provence rosé is that kind of like slightly sea breezy character, with some chalkiness to them, and also faint red fruit. I get peach a lot on them, and I get peach a lot on kind of Grenache and Cinsault based rosés frequently. It's pretty good. Yeah. And this is, I guess what I would say is like, this is a wine there's a couple really, really like, really, really popular Provençal rosés right now in the US, especially like Whispering Angel and Miraval, that typically are in the closer to $20 range. I mean, as the kids say, IMHO, in my humble opinion, this is qualitatively just as good as those wines are, if not better, and at a lower price point, and made exactly the same way and from virtually the same place. So I hope that answers your question, Chris. And I do think yeah, the wines are, but I do think the wines are lighter though, also to keep them food friendly and shit, man, so people can drink a lot of them. The great thing about like light, crisp, low alcohol wines is like you can drink a lot of it. Like the bad thing about Ginormo, hit you over the head, crush your face, like destroy your mouth for a day. Red wines is like, I don't know, man. I mean, like, I like drinking wine. I like drinking wine. I don't like having just a little bit and feeling like I need to go take a nap, Man, good stuff. Questions about this? This classic Provençal. Classic. There's a little bit, some of this frou-frou gets into geekiness about they use a commercial yeast and what it does to that. I mean, I don't want to talk about that, but I mean, I love like Provençal rosé with like, once again, like goat cheeses, olives, foods with total aioli, lots of garlic, you know, man, all that stuff, just classic. Like down here, you have like, you know, oh my god, it's like a bean dish. It's super hearty. Oh my god, why can't? Well, I mean, like ratatouille is one thing you would think about down here, but you'd also have, oh my god, it's a bean dish, and sometimes you put pork cassoulet. Like cassoulet, we think of as like a really heavy, red wine dish, but this is totally great with it. And like basic things, like paella and rosé wine is phenomenal for me. It's stuff like this. Rosés from Provence are beautiful with like foods with like saffron and truffle and mushrooms in them too. Um, any before I move on, any questions about that? I just want to give everybody like just a little couple 2 or 3 minutes, because I'm not gonna probably go on for another hour. There's just not a lot to talk about here. I mean that in a good way. The wines are different from each other, but we're not. I don't have to go deep into the deep dive of the region and like, what's happening. This is basically Southern French rosé that's delish. I'm telling you, man, though, these go good with everything except keep them the fuck away from sweet foods. Don't be playing with just because this is pink doesn't mean you should have this shit with ice cream, or like candy bars and stuff. I mean, go ahead, do it. It's your wine. Live that life, fly that freak flag. Just get your Provençal rosé and your nougat or whatever you're into. Just have them together. Just taste gross. Can't even taste the wine anymore. Maybe you can. Maybe you're a super taster. I don't know. Cool. Do it if you want. I just get no pleasure out of it. It's me. Maybe it's a subjective thing. Try not to be a hater. But keep dry. If it's dry and pink, keep it away from the sweets, guys. That's just my humble opinion. All right, we did this. We talked about that. Yeah. All right. Bradley saying, yeah, the Routas has some body for sure, man. Okay. So this is interesting. Like this, I think. So here's the Sangiovese Rosé from the Scotto family. Man, look, Jay. I don't know what's your real name, Jay. What's your whole name? I'm not trying to antagonize you, Jay. Look, I mean, okay, if you want to do dark chocolate, like once again, man, I get a little bit, off the rails here, where I hold it back in the store. But when we do this kind of stuff, look, man, I don't care what food you eat with your wine. I don't. I want you to be happy, man. I really do. There's just like we, this is the beauty of our modern world is like Sartre would say, we're confined. The existentialist would be like, look, man, your experience is the thing that's gonna bring you down. Your freedom is the thing that actually kind of oppresses you and like alienates you. If you want to have dark chocolate with some dry rosé wine, that's cool, man. I don't. I just don't, man. You know what? There's so many good sweeter wines out there that are underrated that you can pair with chocolate. There's just like a cornucopia of sherries and ports and sauternes and Malagas and Barsaks and Muscat Baume de Vanille and like Auslesas, and I mean I could go on and on, man. Like just drink, have sweet wine with sweet foods, man. Unless that chocolate's like almost, I think like a dark chocolate too will just make the wine taste. If it's really dark chocolate, it'll probably just make the wine taste bitter, man. You know, like the wine needs to be sweeter than the food. That's kind of the that's what's gotta happen when we're doing a wine and food pairing. Oh, it's Janine. Okay, like hi, I want you to be happy. I know you can do it. You are happy. Um, Rebecca, I was not a philosophy major, but I do still read a lot of philosophy, and I went to UWM for a very, very, very long time for journalism. Um, yeah. For journalism, and I took a bunch of history classes too. Yep, Barsack, Bradley, Barsack. Okay, now we're getting into this, which is Sangiovese, and I'm thinking these guys didn't tell me that this explicitly was made in the Saunier method, but when I look at this wine, I think that's probably what they were doing, and they probably did it to make a bigger, fatter regular because they do it Sangiovese bottling. Mm. Man, this has got like a peachy, like melon rind apricot thing going on to me too. It also smells a little rhubarby on the nose. It's like got these really cool like sweet and tart things happening on the nose. It's funny. I love this wine. It's interesting. Rosé is one of those wine styles of wine too, where I think it's really good to keep them cold. And it's this is weird. I almost never say this. I think like we there's a tendency to drink white wine too cold and red wine too warm. But I like rosé when it's pretty cold, and that's just me. Yeah. Oh, Chris, you're a former journalist. Yeah. And then almost did the history degree. Yeah, man, dude, that is a fascinating rabbit hole, man. I never get tired of it. Um, yeah, I think it was last week that I was talking about 2 weeks ago that ambiguity of ethics and Beauvoir, and I don't want to go down there, but I somehow tied it all. It got all tied in, and Hegel and the phenomenology of the mind. Yeah. All right. Any thoughts on this when everybody gets down into it? So think about this. So this is a fifth generation family in Lodi, Wisconsin, or I said Lodi, Wisconsin, Lodi, California. So they didn't start in Lodi. They were in Ischia, which is a small island off the coast of Campania in southern Italy, like kind of the toe of the Italian boot. And their family eventually opened up a wine shop. They literally opened up a wine shop like right after the Depression in Brooklyn, and then started making making wine from California grapes that they grew in California in um, in the 1960s. So all this, they're this fifth generation thing, and they're actually like in the top from a size perspective. They're like the top, within the top 50 sized wineries in the United States, and they make a lot of custom stuff. This is an interesting wine to me. In the sense that it comes from a single vineyard. It's called Morfry Ranch, which is a vineyard that has like a lot of like 100+ year old Zinfandel vines. The grape variety for this wine is Sangiovese. Um, and Sangiovese is the main grape variety of Chianti. And it's a grape that's grown throughout central Italy. Probably at one point, Italian immigrants um, brought it to the West Coast in the 19th century. I'm always assuming that. You know, nowadays the UC Davis has what they would say like a virus-free versions of Sangiovese that are there's clones of Sangiovese that I'm not sure if this is the newer Sangiovese clones or if it was something that can be traced directly back. That was like a suitcase or something somebody brought over. Sangiovese has high acid though, and like kind of it's kind of makes a medium bodied red wine. So I'm always surprised. Like look at the color on this thing, man. This stuff is pretty dark. So I'm thinking they did the whole Saignée thing and they bled this from a tank to make like a deeper actual Sangiovese. Yeah. And to me the wine has like it has like a snap of tannin to it. And it starts out like creamy, and I don't mean this in a bad way. It's got like a slightly like not like dirty soil, but like fresh. It's got a little bit of a fresh soil vibe to me on it. Like you picked up like a really great like handful of like dirt that's like beautiful dirt, Yeah. This to me is like kind of like a burger pizza rosé though. It's like I'd have it with like fatty, thick, super greasy food. Um, and it's only 13.1% alcohol. So this is from the area in California called Lodi. And you see that this is a picture we took ourselves. So just so everybody understands this, okay. So here we are. This is kind of, we can see kind of from San Francisco to LA. This is an almost full map of California. Lodi is right here. It's just south of Sacramento. And this is actually the Sacramento River Delta that empties out into the San Francisco Bay. And it's really sandy around here, man. And, oh, man, I forget the name of the river. Oh, God. There's a special name to this river. I always blank it. It's like Molcamene. I'm mispronouncing it. Molcamene, maybe. But the Lodi region, think about this. This is really like it's kind of a breadbasket-y place for California, but at the same time, it's got all these sandy soils. It's like I take that back as a breadbasket-y place because it's really perfect for like high. It's more like high production viticulture, meaning like it's relatively dry. It's pretty hot. You can churn out a lot of grapes here. And it's got a water source, which a lot of places in California don't have. So Lodi's really, really exploded over the last probably 50, 60 years. And some really big wine brands are from here, like Woodbridge wines for years and years and years came from Lodi. I don't know if they all do not, but people are starting to take it more seriously. There's some really cool historic vineyards, especially in the kind of southwestern part of Lodi in kind of sandier soils, and it's really becoming known for Old Vine Zinfandel. I hope everybody's getting an idea where this is in California. Yeah, and dude, the land here is exponentially cheaper than land is in like Napa or Sonoma for sure. And this gives you a little bit idea around here. Okay, here we go. San Joaquin, Sacramento Delta. Mokomni. There you go. That's what I was trying to say. I can't say it. Mokomni. There you go. And here is the actual town of Woodbridge, which Woodbridge Wines is named after. But our folks in Morfry are down around here, too. Mm-hmm. Questions about this as a wine? I definitely think that they probably did. They probably used this one. And it's something like when people do the Saignée method instead of the direct press method, like a lot of folks don't want to brag about that because it's kind of like they're making rosé, they're making this kind of heavier rosé wine and at the same time then taking it away from red wine to make that, it's almost like a secondary wine made off of, well, people are going to make a fuller bodied red. It's almost like a trick. So they only made 1,400 cases of this stuff. I just thought it was like juicy. Like I loved, like it had the kind of watermelon Jolly Rancher vibe to it and was like a slightly creamy texture. Super crushable, like really, really easy to put back. Three pretty different rosés. I mean, like, it's interesting, you know, California, we also think about as a place where, you know, like, you know, 40 years ago is when they started churning out white Zinfandel. Now, wineries can't, you know, run fast enough to make dry rosé. But I think we're at a point where the market's kind of peaked for there being so many brands, and a lot of them aren't very good. So I think we're gonna see a little bit of a contraction over the next couple of years in the rosé market, and I think it'll really correct itself by like 2023. There's still a lot of, I would say this about rosé, there's starting to be old stock available, which as a wine buyer and as a sommelier, and as a consumer, I'm really not interested in old rosé stock. There's some exceptions to that. I do get really excited about current releases, and I find that the wines are, like, I want to try the next, you know, like the current releases 2020 here in the Northern Hemisphere. And I'm excited to try those wines. And with a few exceptions, I think a lot of the 2019 wines are something I'm not going to necessarily completely avoid them, but anything older than that isn't that exciting to me right now, especially anything from 2018 that's rosé. There's a couple exceptions, you know, there's a couple outlier producers. The region of Tavel in southern France. Those wines are really good when they're 2 or 3 years old. There's a couple, you know, Spanish rosé producers, and there's, of course, rosé sparkling wines that have a lot of longevity to them. But I do want you guys to all walk away from this and think about, you know, rosé is about being fresh. That's why we did all 2020 vintage wines. You can have it with dark chocolate if you want to. I just don't find that to be an optimal experience, but that's just me, and it's a subjective thing. Yeah, man. And I'm just going to open this up and let you guys ask me questions for another like 10 minutes, and then I'm going to shut her down. I can kind of go back to this if you want me to, or if anybody wants me to loop back and touch base about something, let me know. Oh, you know what I will do? We'll go to this. Yeah, here. You can buy the wines on the website. That's right, at raisewine.com. They're all on sale. And I think our prices are pretty good. Everything's well under $20. And God, the Gobelsburg, I don't know. I think the Gobelsburg is my favorite. But I'm really, really partial to stuff like this. That's fair, Dan. That's fair. Yeah, I was going for the good value things. I don't think I've done one that's like $40 before for 3 wines. Does this even add up to that? It's a little bit more. Yeah, if you bought the kit was really cheap. Wines are solid though. Wines are solid. Yeah, that's good. That's a good price for good Provence rosé, too. Man, they're kind of going up in prices, and I got to deal with like the tariffs too, which is its own weird thing. No more wine for me, or no more wine for Dan, Janine? Excuse me. Oh man, I'll just overshare. Not even that much overshare. I like barely eat meat, and I had the andouille sausage the from Heaven's Table today because it was the food truck here, and it was unbelievable. Oh my god, they're gonna open up the Heaven's Table barbecue on 55th, I think. Really, I don't know if they're open or not. Does anybody know? They're gonna open it up in like just outside of Tosa, and I live on the east side, and they used to be in the Crossroads Collective. Man, Heaven's Table. That is some good barbecue, guys. Damn. Yeah. Their coleslaw is super good too. They do the vinegar coleslaw, and there's pepper in it, and it's incredible. It's such good coleslaw. Vinegar coleslaw, guys. As a guy that's made thousands of pounds of creamy coleslaw, vinegar coleslaw, I'm a fan. Creamy, meh, overrated. Vinegar coleslaw. So good. I'm telling you. And they do beef ribs, which people are I don't know. I'm just not a barbecue guy. I don't I mean it's kind of like a religion to people, whatever. That andouille sausage though. It was worth it. Yeah. I have. You can't tell cuz only sees I've like lost like over 10 pounds in the last like 2 months just by um well, I just don't eat garbage anymore. I drink about a third as much as I used to. It sounds silly, but I've just limited myself to typically one, like only like I don't have more than 2 drinks typically, and some nights I actually skip where I was like pretty religiously having at least 2 drinks a night every night, and I've really slowed my roll and done the like less is better, and I just don't eat. I eat like I eat fruit for breakfast, and I've lost 10 pounds, and I drink like a gallon of water a day, and I just do the same walking and everything. So, and I feel way better because your guy Nate here, guys, I have really high blood pressure, and I'm really trying to bring that stuff down. Um, oh, wow. Gobelsburg, Gobelsburg, guys, Gobelsburg, really, and even that's like rosé like that is really great with like ramps and asparagus, like all the funky greens and oniony things and stuff. You can throw that at it. It'll be like, yeah, we're friends. I'm a crunchy little rosé that goes snap, snap, snap in your mouth. And then I like veggies and green stuff and like even like, like just basil, Swiss chard, collards, mustard greens, all that stuff. Oh gosh, I'm excited. I just wanted pink wine and veggies, some goat cheeses. Oh, so good. Yeah. I promise next week I'm going to put new events up. I kind of don't know what because I'm planning both live stuff and I'm planning a couple more virtual things. I love it when you guys tell me some event ideas. Yeah, if anybody's like, hey, just off the top of my head, it's got to be plausible and make sense and something that everybody, like a lot of people want to do. Because I might just do a Chardonnay class, but that would be really cool. And I could just do white Burgundy. But there's so many things I want to save for like the big thing that it's hard for me to do just the 3 wines then, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of up for ideas. Man, and I'm excited to do the hybrid thing where I might start streaming people in. Like even when we're doing a live class, I might start streaming people. Yeah, I mean Gobelsburg's really, really good, guys. I've had this wine in the past too, like for many, many years. It's through a great importer too. Well, it's a long story, but it's basically the Skurnik wine company out of New York imports it. But a guy named Terry Teese used to be the importer, but it's the Skurnik company, and they have the best German and Austrian wines in the world. They're the leading German and Austrian wine importers in the U.S. And Gobelsburg's really probably Gobelsburg might be like one of the largest production things they do. Please, miss, may I have some more? I like Austrian wine, but I don't like the Austrian School of Economics. Yeah, I'll do an Austrian wine class once I get up and going. Yeah, and I'll probably once I go back to live, I'll probably, I always bring people anyways. Yeah, I could just do a Spanish white class. Janine, that's a really great idea. Janine, bravo. I could just do like the classic. Oh man, I could just do the classic white wines of Spain. Yeah. Yeah. Girl, Rebecca, let me you see this over here? The discount should be on the website. Hold up, man. Is the discount not showing up on the website? Hey, my man Eric, did you put the discount on the wines on the website?
Crap.
Oh, my man. Okay, we gonna make the fake inventory for that and say that they're gonna be available on Wednesday too.
Yeah, my guy, I got it.
I'm sorry, man. Thank you. I'm having my IT guy fix my stuff on the website, so the discounts are there. Shit, man, I really fucked this one up today with making the link go away. Oh my god, wow. It was way too easy to mess it up. There should be some kind of fail safe here, man. This is what's hard about the internet age, man. I'm not even that old, and like I was like, I just totally I started the stream and then I ended it and I was like, oh, the link doesn't work anymore. I have to make a new link, don't I? Yeah. Man, I know. I know. I can't wait to do a wine and food thing again too. Like, I mean, we did that. I did a like if everybody remembers back in 2019, we basically did a wine dinner with Calakenzo. It was so cheap, and it was just like I couldn't believe how great of an experience it was. And it was kind of criminal. I think like Ray's probably lost money that night. It was so I don't know what it was, but it was like a ridiculous amount of wines, and then like six courses from Calakenzo, and they were here, and it was like $50, and it was just like there's no way you could get that experience somewhere. Yeah, yeah, I know. But like it'd be fun just to do like a little tapas, like a tapas and wine event. I'm gonna check and make sure. My guy's probably gonna get these wines all right on the website then. Sorry guys, I should repeat that. If you order wines today from the website, please put in a pickup date of Wednesday or later. Just just because if I get inundated with stuff, I can't necessarily guarantee that everything's going to be available all at the same time. And this allows me to get the wine for everybody and sort it out in a way so you actually receive your stuff. Oh man, dude, Brad, we're not doing Rosé Day this year. Unfortunately, this is an extremely pared down version of the Rosé Fest this year. I just don't. It's gonna be 2022 for sure. You know, like, yeah, yeah. I want to go and just make sure that he has the. Oops. Hold on. Oh my God. I'm gonna make sure we've got all the wines on sale right now. Hold on. Oh boy. I think he's editing it right now. Wow. Vin de Provence. Ah, yeah. Yeah, these are going to be on sale on the site real soon. Sorry, this is, if you guys want to order these, I hope you dug the wines. I hope everybody liked them. Oops, that's the Sauvignon Blanc. Like I said, if you want to order any of the wines, you know, give us just a minute. We're going to put get the discounts up there. Man, it's been a day of technical difficulties here at Ray's. Okay. Oh, great. Okay, perfect. Yeah, everything should be, all the discounts should be there. Guys, any other questions for your friend Nate? Yeah, I love the Spanish whites one. Yep, and the discounts on the site now. Thanks so much, guys. I'm gonna sign off. Appreciate it as always. We had some good banter. Excuse me. Like I said, I'll get some new classes up early next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.